Okay. I thought I'd do a quick run through of this ecosystem. It's basically the same thing I've said to Francesca and Tim's had me say it a couple of times. But essentially, we've got a couple of different important diagrams in here. We've got the top one, which is like a relationship diagram, and the bottom one, which is like a simplified ownership diagram. You could do a more detailed version of this, and there's a file called Old Booper Tech Stack. I think I transferred it to Tim. I've definitely transferred it to someone. So if you ever did want to add a few more layers to this, like you could add in like forms, or you could add in a few more of like the actual tech things, or like where text is hosted can be different places. There's a few different things you could add, but you could add them into here, so you could build this out a little bit. And as I said to Francesca, this MyBoop app one is kind of massively oversimplified, so it's worth expanding this out into different sections as well. And there is a bit of that different sections in the tech stack diagram file, with like who to speak to about them. Another thing to note on this diagram is that where it says components, I've kind of simplified this as well, in that these Bill, Connect, SME, Quick Quote, OBT, and BBY, they all technically could use the web components, but they don't. It's like their components are essentially, from a DS point of view, outdated at the moment. Like they're on React, they can use the reusable library, but they're not using it because they're on older components. So although they can here, doesn't mean they are. Just to run through this one, we've got all of our different products along the top. Francesca pointed out there's a few more that I hadn't added on there. This is kind of from my experience of what I've had oversight of, so there definitely will be ones missing. But you've got your basic sort of .co.uk React, .co.uk Legacy, the two different parts of the website. Reason they're split up is just to make these work a little better. You then got your Bill, Login Journey, Connect, which is your B2B, SME Quick Quote, which is like the quick, well, does what it says on the tin, it's the quick quote for business. OBT booking, so like booking with physios and your health assessments. BBY, which is our main quote tool for consumers. The app as in general. MyBooper Web, which is kind of our probably furthest behind one at the moment. B2B portal, which Francesca pointed out, is maybe a Booper group thing, so possibly we should get rid of it here, but there's kind of two arguments to that. Like, do you want to just try and collect as much as you can in here, even if they're not directly our responsibility? Don't know. Same with Finder. Finder's completely, it's like, as I said, like the only one that's not even on the foundations. It's completely different. So tokens, you've got the new bits of the website using tokens, and you've got the app is using them, and BBY should be, I believe. This might be wrong, it might be more like that. Components, definitely using them on the new web stuff. And as I said before, all of these ones can use them because they're on React, but don't necessarily. You know what? I actually might even change this just to say, to make this a little bit better. I think this is probably a clearer way of explaining it. So sorry for changing that midway through, but I think that makes more sense. And then, you guys should be looking, and I know Peter wants to do this as well, at basically expanding this web components out over all these products when you can, whether that means moving their components into the system if they like have multiple uses, or whether that means creating new ones in web components, or just the ones that are currently in web components, just using those on the products. You should basically look to see to be expanding this over here, but let's leave it there for now. And patterns the same story, so actually just do the same thing. Let's go unique instances, make it a bit more accurate. Try and line these up as best as you possibly can. So patterns fill out. Important to know the .co.uk repo. That is where the legacy.co.uk stuff is going to live. And the B2B portal actually, we say forked DS because we gave them like a snapshot of our design system like a month or so, maybe, in fact it's way longer than that. I think it may have been like a good 6 months or so ago. We've just started doing a bit more work again recently. And then platform is the other one, so just which tools are actually on React. The app's obviously React Native. MVC is Model View Controller, which is how Jazz refers to as the old stuff. You could also just say non-React. You know what? Might put that in brackets. And then the B2B portal's on React, Finders on PHP. Okay, into the relationship one. I think Tim knows this one as well as me now. But you've essentially got your design tokens, which should sit at the very start, the foundation of everything. And then you can kind of see where this should be the actual names of the code repos, ideally. I think we've tried to get that as best we can, but this diagram is by no means absolutely perfect. And then in zero height, there should be, again, like named pages or sections for this. No storybook for these. Then that leads into foundations. If you want to know what these are, this is, when I said that we forked tokens and foundations for that B2B stuff, it just leads right over to these. So design tokens leads into foundations. Foundations leads into all of these essentially. Global components, patterns. Global components, web components, and app components. I think that one really should come out of here. Yeah. And then, patterns comes off the back of that. This gets a bit more complicated because these app components are not just built in one code repo. They're built in Jazz's code repo, Bupa Mobile Components, but also the MyBupa Tech platform components owned by Herman. And they not only take designs from the app components and unique instances files, but also they actually take stuff straight from GlueStack, Tailwind, and Nativewind, which are like these headless UI platforms. They do have their own storybook. We don't know exactly what it's called, so we've referred to it as Storybook 2, but we don't actually know. The same with these. We don't know what their storybook is, if they even have one. The one storybook we do know is the anatomy one, which is where the npm components and patterns are. And they're the ones represented in zero height. You then got your .co.uk squad, which comes all the way back off those foundations again. .co.uk repo, it actually is called components v0.0 now. I think it's something like that, very close to that anyway, and that's the one that sits in Grace's .co.uk repo team in Figma. You can find it. And that is the sort of .NET Sitecore components within Sitecore, and we've put Sitecore equivalent of Storybook. There might be, I don't know, not that I know of. That's pretty much everything as far as we know. This one is the best one definitely for starting to show sort of senior stakeholders because it's way more understandable. This one's much better for going through with developers, anyone who's going to be working in the system, if there's like a replacement for me or something. I haven't really spoken about this pushes to manual work automotive tool dependency of, but essentially it just is meant to be where things are reliant on another file as a dependency, automated with a tool like Token Studio or what's the other one? The other token thing? I can't remember. Matt knows. And then manual work. I think, Tim, since you've changed this, these might be slightly off some of the dependency ones, but the other older diagram should be around somewhere. Can always find it in that old Bupa Tech stack file. And then pushes to is meant to represent, which of these libraries get pushed to from other libraries. You might have to check on those lines, but also they're not super important. yeah, I think that's it. I don't know what this stuff is. Tim did this, and Tim's done this as well. So yeah, I think we should be good.